He should be back with us now. You there, buddy?
I was making such a salient point there. And
Were you really? Well, continue or start over.
No, I was just saying, this Cowboy team all season long, not only do they have to overcome their opponents, they have to overcome themselves. And, if they had ever play a clean game, they'd run away with it. And that's what they did in the month of December. If you think about it, they when they won those 4 games to run the table at the end of the season, they had 12 takeaways, only 1 turnover. And then suddenly in this game early, there was mistake after mistake. You run into the kicker, give them another set of downs, and they go down and score a touchdown. You let a team drive 99 yards for a touchdown. You had 1st and 10 inside the 20 twice, and you come away with 3 points. That was the first field goal Dan Bailey had missed less than 50 yards since the 3rd game of last season. I mean, it was one after another, and you know what? It never ended, even to the last.
Oh, my gosh.
When DeMarcus Lawrence has a brain cramp and runs with the fumble recovery, and then he has to come back and cause another one and recover it himself to close out the game. So, yeah, it was just it was amazing that they were able to end up winning the game against what I think is a pretty darn good defense and, maybe one of the best defenses they have faced all season long.
The irony of all that, Mickey, is that, or at least the last play, is that isn't Leon Lett DeMarcus Lawrence's coach?
Oh, yeah. And the funny thing was they asked him afterwards if he knew the history of Leon Lett. And he says, oh, yeah. He goes, I was a big Cowboy fan growing up, so I knew all about that. Now, growing up, he's 22 years old, so when Leon Lett did that,
he was like 5.
1. Yeah, maybe 5.
Right.
Probably 1.
Right.
And so I thought it was funny, but he knew, and he said, I was just very grateful that my coach put me back in the game and gave me an opportunity to redeem myself.
Well, and he did. He totally did. But let me ask you, because you bring up a lot of things, where, they don't have – I think the first line you started with was the Cowboys not only have to beat, the other team, but they've also got to overcome, themselves a lot. Well, is that the sort of team you think can win a Super Bowl?
Well, you know what? It bodes well for no matter what situation you're in. You can dig yourself out. But let's face it, you're going to start playing better teams, and the chances of digging yourself out are not as great. The percentages certainly aren't with you. But, we can go back to, being down to St. Louis, 21-0 on the road, and you come back and win the game. They've been in so many situations like that, and they kind of revive themselves. And I've always said, if you have the ability to score points, chances are you can recover. The irony, I think, of this one is that a team that was averaging 41.25 points a game during the month of December had to lean on their defense to win a game. It's really the first time the defense has come up big like that, held an opponent to 20 points, and the Cowboys are able to win a game. And they had to close it out. Now, I don't know how confident I was in this defense shutting down that offense that just ran roughshod over them last year for 623 total yards. But they came up with the plays, and that was the amazing thing. Detroit was able to move the ball, but here was the difference. The Cowboys had 3 takeaways, and that's what they averaged in the month of December when they won those 4 games. They had the 12 takeaways, only 1 turnover.
I'm going to give you guys 6 numbers and tell me if they mean anything to you. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
7-12, 3-12, 1-16. Do those numbers mean anything to you? Sounds like a lottery.
A lottery, yeah. I'm going to win the lottery tonight.
7-12.
7-12, 3-12, 1-16.
Not sure.
Those are high temperatures in Green Bay this week. Now, luckily, 23 is the high on Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah, I've seen anywhere from 19 to 23 with a low of 4.
Yeah.
So thank goodness for the Cowboys that the game starts at noon, so that'll be right at about the high. and then it goes downhill from there when you're that far north.
Yeah, it looks like about 21 they're predicting for game time, kickoff temperature for the Cowboys and the Packers. Mickey, how does a team like Dallas prepare for that? Is there any way to prepare for it, being a team that plays in a much warmer area than Green Bay going up there on Sunday?
And a dome, basically.
Right.
You know what? I think that the weather here is supposed to be cold this week. It's cold today. They should run out and practice, right? I don't know if you ever prepare for it, and I don't know if practicing in it helps you any. I think it's a deterrent because you go out there and you can't practice well. Where do you think the Packers, if it's 10 degrees this week, are practicing this week? They're practicing in their indoor facility. They're not going out in that cold wear. So I always laugh about that. They may live in it, but they don't play in it other than maybe once or twice a year. And no one gets used to 10 degrees. I don't care who you are. You know, if that was the case in 1967, the last time they played each other in a playoff game at Lambeau, the infamous 21-17 Packer win, the Ice Bowl, well, why did the Packers wait until the last 10 seconds to score the winning touchdown if they were so weatherproof? You know, no one functions well in that. So, to me, just go play. This team, I think, is weatherproof. I think they're environment-proof. Heck, they're country-proof. It doesn't matter what country they're playing in. They've been able to figure out how to win. So, I know that's going to be that'll be a big line of discussion this week, the weather. But chances are the Cowboys will be practicing outdoors if it's sunny like it is here today. And the Packers, if it's 10 degrees, will be inside their indoor practice facility.
Was that really the last time they played in the playoffs, Mickey, 1967?
At Lambeau Field.
At Lambeau, okay.
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, yeah, that's right. I guess they played every year when I was a kid in Dallas.
Right. Home field, baby. They always had home field.
So here's another one that you'll hear a lot of. The Cowboys have only won one game at Lambeau Field in their history. It was a 2008 season. They beat the Packers when they got off to their 3-0 start.
I was at that game.
They've beaten the Packers in Milwaukee when the Packers used to play half their home games at Lambeau and half in Milwaukee. They've won games there, but they've only won one in Lambeau. You can go back to the early 60s for that. So you'll hear a lot of that. I don't know how much you'll hear that in the last 4 times they met in the playoffs, the Cowboys have won, but every one of those games was at Texas Stadium. And I could remember the Packers thinking, just crying, gosh, can we ever play them, at home in a playoff game? And then the next time the Cowboys played them at Lambeau, it was a regular season game in '97, and they just wiped out the Cowboys on, by the way, a very frigid day.
Todd's pumping his fist in the other room. Packers homer. Mickey Spagnola with us on Little Cedars Hot Ready Hotline. Pass interference or no pass interference?
When I went back and looked at it, I don't know what Hitchens should have done. I mean, other than everybody says, well, you got to turn and look for the ball. Well, the head referee, when he did his pool report interview, he said there's no such thing as face guarding in the National Football League. So I'm going to take him at his word. So if that's the case, then it's not interference. What should Hitchens done? Got out of the way? The ball was underthrown and hit him in the back. And the other thing I noticed, while both guys were somewhat hand fighting at one point down the field.
Face mask.
There was a face mask, yes.
Yeah.
It was obvious. And he yanked it. I mean, you could see his head just drop. And it's like, well, who was watching for that? So I think, as it turned out, it probably ended up being a really good no call. I'm sure there's no one in Detroit that believes that.
Well, you know what they're also saying in Detroit, and every anti-Cowboy guy everywhere, of course, is, well, Des Bryant was 10 yards out onto the field.
Well, he was. And I don't know what the ruling is on that,
Oh, yeah, you do, Mickey.
Plus he was on the field without his helmet on, right?
Right.
Yeah, so guys, everybody runs out on the field. The coaches run out on the field, right?
I love you, Mickey. That's I just do. You are so great.
Hey,
This
one
is
more
awesome.
thing before we let you go, Mickey, and you mentioned all the things that are going to be brought up this week. One that for sure is going to be brought up is the Cowboys 8-0 on the road this season, traveling to Lambeau. I want to ask you, though, with the home game yesterday against the Lions, what was the crowd like?
It might have been the most enthusiastic crowd I've seen at AT&T, meaning from start to finish. They never gave up on their team. Now, there were points where, folks were sitting down a little bit, but they never gave up. And if you go talk to the players, they thought it was the greatest crowd they've ever had. And the noise at the end of the game on that last drive was just absolutely amazing, and they never let up. And I think that had a lot to do with, I think on that last drive, the Lions suffered a false start at one point when they reached the 46-yard line. It was pretty rowdy. They were waving their towels. They reported yesterday here that in Irving they felt another tremor, and I said, well, no wonder. I mean, that place was just stomping. It was alive. So, that was one of the better home field crowds the Cowboys have ever had. You mentioned the Cowboys 8-0 on the road. Well, you're also going to hear that the Packers are 8-0 at home. So something's got to give.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, we got a good one going.
And Aaron Rodgers' last interception at home, I think, was in 2012. If I'm not mistaken.
What do you mean? What do you mean if you're not mistaken? All you do is regurgitate that stat all the time.
December 5th, around 1:35 p.m. Central Time.
All week long, we're going to have point and counterpoint.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Good talking to you, Mickey.
Nothing better than playoff football.
Amen, brother. We'll chat at you.
See ya.